And let's move on to the next least boring position in the offensive line. Starting at left tackle, for me, I've got Teddy Prohaska starting. How about you, Justin? Who do you think starts at left tackle? Or are we all pretty much thinking it's going to be Prohaska?
I have same.
Yeah.
Same.
I mean, he looks so damn good when we had him in for just a little bit of a sample size. And if he's even back at that baseline, I mean, he was throwing Michigan dudes around like it was nobody's business.
Sure.
Yeah, I've got Prohaska,
Yep,
obviously.
so.
I'm with you guys. I do, but I do wonder the injury. I mean, it is interesting to see how much development he lost. I just think that the depth at that position is so weak that I don't see anyone really having to challenge him. So I've got him. I don't feel great about it. I agree with you, Scott. I think he looked good in the limited action. I do worry how much of the injury sent him back and how much he's going to be ready for week 1.
Yeah, I agree. If like I said, if he ends up exactly where his baseline was before, he's like hands down like a good weapon for our offensive line.
Luckily for him, his first game this year will be the same as his first game last year, and he owned them last year. So.
Oh yeah, he was pushing them around.
So let's be honest here. Teddy Prohaska is our best offensive lineman.
Yeah,
this year he's hands down
proven.
Our best guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's the Cam Jurgens of 2022 as far as being the most durable and the best.
Sure, absolutely.
I don't know about durable. I don't know about durable. But
Durable was a terrible.
I would say if we took our sample size and then like just extended it from the beginning to the end of the season and use that as like a projected sample size, absolutely. Compared to anybody else that we have on our roster, I think the only person who comes right up next to him would be Nori Nueli. Like that's there's a huge gap between the two. Like the only reason why I would say Nori Nueli would be the next like provable offensive line talent is just because he didn't fuck things up. Like there wasn't a moment where you were like, God dang it, Nueli, you fucked up, bud. Yeah. So I'm done.
Okay, well, that was 2 F-bombs in approximately 35 seconds. I have to say I am impressed. Let's move to the other.
Myself,
I got you. Let's move to the other end of the offensive line and go with right tackle. Why don't you start, Justin? Who do you think starts at right tackle?
Turner Corcoran. And, the list at both starting tackles, is very small. And Turner Corcoran, I mean, he's the obvious choice right there, and I think he's going to win it.
The rest of you guys basically agree. I'm in the Corcoran camp too. How about you guys?
Yeah, I think it's Corcoran. Maybe Benhart could maybe push him a little bit, but that's the only other guy I could see pushing him.
The thing with Corcoran, and again, I actually think he is pushing for the best lineman. But the thing with him that's just fascinating, I think, is the speculation of, does he play tackle? I think we all know he's going to start, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any question he is a starter. But the question has been, does he move to center? Does he move to guard? I'm in the right tackle camp because I saw what our tackles did during that spring game. And I think that you've got to put your two best linemen, and I think those are our two best linemen, at the tackles. And I think you've got to lynch that in, or else Casey Thompson. We're going to find out who our backup quarterback's going to be if we don't lynch up those tackle spots. I mean, it's a fact. So, I mean, I like Corcoran there.
Derrick, you're the same, and Scott, you guys with Corcoran on that deal?
Yeah, I've got Corcoran, but I literally kept flipping back and forth between Benhart and Corcoran just because I don't know. They did not have a good sample for what they were. Mm-hmm. I would say that Benhart was like a big letdown last year, like the biggest offensive line letdown. But I think the reason why they kept him in for so damn long is because I think what they would see in practice just wasn't reflecting on game day. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Benhart actually starts at right tackle. I would not be surprised at all.
I think you're wrong, Scott.
To be fair, I think Benhart had a much better season after he was benched.
Yeah,
I'll agree with that. He
agree.
played a little better after being benched.
So, Scott, I think the reason that Benhart was playing tackle is because they didn't feel that Teddy Prohaska was ready to play game action. And so at some point, it's like you got to pull that trigger and give that dude experience, flip Turner Corcoran from left to right tackle and put Teddy Prohaska in there. And, Benhart had to ride pine. He was hurting the team too much. I mean,
to be fair, Turner Corcoran was hurting the team just as bad at left tackle.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
He was much better at right tackle than he was left tackle. At left tackle, he was struggling bad.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, I believe Benhart at the end of the year actually had a better PFF grade than what Turner Corcoran did.
Like overall or just in one game?
Overall.
So one of the untalked things about Benhart, and I think this will go into play, but I have heard a lot of speculation that his wingspan is just not where it needs to be. I won't repeat the nickname I've heard of him in the locker room because it is not a great nickname, but and I don't know if it's true. Justin wants to. I've heard they call him T-Rex.
Short, little stubby arms.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if that's true.
Who's
I've
that?
heard that speculation.
Is that Benhart?
Benhart.
Yeah, Benhart. And
I didn't know that. I didn't know he had a short
I
wingspan.
have heard that his wingspan is not there, which is probably one of the reasons he has trouble in that pass protection when you need that separation. I think the thing with Benhart is that from a strength aspect, from a hey, you want to go one-on-one with a guy and bowl him over, I think he probably matches up pretty well, which is why he's kind of an intriguing player under the Raiola system where you expect to be a little bit more downhill in the attack versus zone.
Sure.
Maybe you need a little bit. So I do think he's interesting. I think he is one of our top 5 offensive linemen.
One of the first ones to sub in for either tackle. Do you think
I
that's
think
kind of
that
where I've got him?
He is a great talent. He is as good a talent as we have in that room.
To be
By
fair,
the way, the offensive line, we're talking about this. And I mean, I know we started with, I guess, the bright spots. Prohaska, I mean, if you want to say he's our best lineman, this is as bad of an offensive line heading into the season I have ever seen in my life. So if you want to say he's our best, under most years, he is not a
it's a
starter.
stretch.
He is the best of the burn victims. It is troubling.
To be fair, I think Benhart is essentially the only backup tackle right now. If something happened to Prohaska, I think they move Corcoran back to left and put Benhart at right. And if something happens to Corcoran, they're going to bring Benhart in.
Okay.
And you know what? I wrote down in my notes the height and weight of Corcoran and Benhart, and I actually got them mixed up. And so that's why I put Benhart as right tackle, because I thought I thought that their height and weight difference was flipped. Yes. And so you want the taller, bigger dude on the guard spot, where if you've got somebody who can be a little bit quicker, who can sidestep and protect the edge rush. Okay. I just totally mixed that up. So that's my bad. But
so I know we're not going to talk about the backup linemen here, but I mean, if we were to bring in a third tackle, it wouldn't be Benhart. I think it would be Kevin Williams. I think he would be the guy. I think he would be the third. I do.
Okay. All right. I can see that as well. Let's jump ahead and get back to that left side of the line and go to the left guard. I am not sure on this one, quite frankly. I kind of was looking and I went back and forth. And I think you go with the guy that kind of finished out the year last year in Nordin Newelly, or however the Blazes you say his name. How about you guys? Where do you stand at left guard?
Nordin Newelly. I mean, I don't know why he would lose his job. He did fine last year.
He didn't fuck up.
Take a drink.
I definitely have Newelly. I don't know who else to put in there. It's not because he was good. It's just lack of options.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to speculate, like, oh, could he potentially lose his job to like a Hunter Anthony or a Kevin Williams? Sure, it's possible, but proven, I had to go with Nueli because he was a serviceable guard.
But you, Tyler, where you at?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I got him. He was probably the second toughest option for me, picking him. He was okay last year. I mean, I don't know what the upside is really with him. I think the thing that's fascinating with him is there's a lot of whispers that he might be losing that spot. And that, in one hand, is shocking because I don't think he was as impressive as maybe you guys do last year. I think he was not the worst.
Serviceable.
He wasn't.
Yeah, I want to say he was impressive.
He wasn't serviceable.
I just wasn't ever mad at him.
He wasn't noticeably awful. I think there's a difference.
He was awful, just not noticeably so.
I think honestly, guard is harder. Guard is easier to kind of fly under the radar, like because you're not giving up sacks as easy, so it's easier to fly under the radar there.
Yeah,
but the thing that's interesting is there's just a lot of smoke that he might be losing that spot. I don't know. I don't see it, but I'm not overly confident.
Who would you think he would lose his spot to? Would it be Hunter Anthony?
I think you look at both of the transfers. I think Kevin Williams coming in. I think that or Hunter Anthony. I think Benhart is an interesting. I think Corcoran's an interesting move to tackle, and I think a guy who's been practicing a lot of center, Ethan Piper, who did start the year before and was kind of the projected starter. Does he fit a little bit better at the downhill game, which I think a lot of people speculate he will. Does he actually fit well there? I don't know. I think there's a lot of names. I don't know if any of them are better options.
Ethan Piper isn't one of them, I don't think. But that's just me.
Man, I go back to 2020 when Ethan Piper played versus Nueli in 2021. I feel like I left 2020 thinking Ethan Piper was better than I feel like Nueli was after 2021.
But it doesn't shock you a little bit that he lost his job to Nueli and never got it back.
You're right, which is why I have him there. Right, I mean that is 100% why I have him there. But we have a new offensive line.
It's not even like he lost his job before the season started. He lost it mid-season. Like, you suck. Sit down.
Yeah. Wasn't that about the same time Prohaska got to start at left tackle too? They kind of did revamp that entire left side, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
Seriously, offensive line was the hardest thing for me to try and figure out because
me
you're
too.
really picking at scraps. Like
The tackles
I hate
were
to say
easy. Center's going to be easy. It's the guards that is going to be the biggest.
Guards
challenge.
was tough for me.
It
I
was.
kind of
Nueli was like the only one that I just like off the top of my head was like, well, he's going to be in a guard position.
Yeah.
Let's finish off with right guard then.
Yeah,
right guard.
there.
Yeah. At right guard for me, I'll just kick this off. I've got Kevin Williams starting at right guard, so I might be in the minority here, but that's who I think is going to lock that spot down.
That's who I got, Ken. I agree 100% with you. That's
cool.
It was either him or Hunter Anthony, but I like Kevin Williams a little bit better right now.
I have Ethan Piper. I mean, he's got a lot of starting experience at Nebraska. Another year under his belt. I mean, I think, when we get down into it, there's not a lot of choices here. I'm not buying the transfers quite yet to make the starting lineup.
I'll go next. I got Brock Bondo. I mean,
so
he started the spring game at guard.
I just can't see it. I thought about him too. He's been
pushing
30. He's been here for 15 years, and he's played like 2 snaps.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a guy that I think that 3 years ago, maybe it was 2019. I think there was like a lot of hype around him. Like a lot of people thought he was that guy. He was close to a 4-star recruit coming in. Yeah, he
just never panned out. This is his year. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is his year.
The single hardest position is right guard, and again, but the backup name to me was Benhart. I really do. I mean, Derrick, I'll give you credit for this because you made this comment. When you remember Zach Stirrup, a former St. Cecilia graduate, also big tall dude, No one thought like when they moved him to guard, like he's too tall. There's no way it's gonna work. He excelled at guard.
Yeah.
And
He made the NFL because
got him to the NFL, and he played for a while.
I kind of wonder if Benhart could be that. He could be a guy that moves in because I think again he is one of the 5 most talented linemen, and I that kind of said that I think he's over Bondo as one of my top 5. But yeah, he is. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with him. I think the guard experience kind of gets him in there. He started the spring game. I think he at least gets the first crack at it.
All right. So we got 3 different names
Scott.
at right guard.
Yeah,
Scott, do you have a 4th, or are you going with one of those 3?
Yeah, I'm going with Benhart. Just
Wow.
because of talent. If there's a lot of guys who have experience, game experience and whatnot, but really with our new offensive line coach, we have absolutely no idea what he's thinking and how he wants to structure his offensive line. And maybe if we were to base it off of if he is an offensive line coach that can extract potential from somebody, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt and say that is his coaching ability, which is a lot to say. That's a lot to ask. But if I were to drink some Kool-Aid and say, you know what, Donovan Raiola, he's going to extract the most potential from talent, well, then Bryce Benhart wins that guard.
Donovan Raiola has the least enviable job
No
on
kidding.
staff.
Yeah.
On what he's inheriting right here. I mean, this staff, they left him jack shit for talent on the offensive line. It's scary.
There's a lot of stars there. There is a lot of
There's
stars.
talent.
You just got done saying this is the worst offensive line headed into a country as far as you can remember.
I agree.
Worst proven offensive line potential. We have a talent potential that is got a lot of stars.
Guys, we've been riding off this potential talent thing for like 10 years now.
No, we haven't. I mean, I think I remember when they started bringing in guys like the Benharts and then the Corcoran, there's like, man, there's potential in 3 or 4 years, and that we're getting 3 or 4 years in. Again, no confidence. Oh, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, Troy. I agree completely, Troy. I think,
good point.
yeah.
And the problem is, Troy, is that those 3 guys were all here when we didn't have good offensive line. And so I don't know what to make of it, but like we've had talent. You're 100% right.
Ken, you should read that response for the people listening on the podcast version.
Troy Zugliotti jumped in, and that's like the all last name. He's on the all last name team of viewers. And that is Matt. I guess he's talking about Matt Farniok, Brendan Hymas, and Cam Jurgens are all playing in the NFL. Players have not been the problem, in his opinion, and I completely agree. I think the coaching has certainly let these kids down, and I think, who knows? I mean, and considering that coaching was the thing that we all believe has let them down, and we're going with a giant question mark as the offensive line coach, is going to be interesting come Dublin, Ireland, to see what this offensive line actually is able to do and how much cohesiveness there is. I've heard a lot of Kool-Aid from players and whatnot that have been interviewed on podcasts about how they're very cohesive. They're very together. They do everything at the same time, whether they're practicing or they're walking on the field. They have really emphasized on being together and moving as a unit. So we'll see how that ends up looking in the games. I'm doing my best to stay skeptical, but it's hard because, this is the time of year. You're getting ready. You're ramping up to fall camp. It's easy to get excited. And quite frankly, one of the positions I'm quite excited about is the next one we're going to talk about, which is center, because we have no flipping clue in many ways wait a minute, I did that wrong. My bad.
Tight end.
Center. Why don't we start with you, Tyler? And I have a feeling we're all going to probably go the same way.
I mean,
who do you have starting?
I got Trent Hickson. Ethan Piper, I think, will compete. I think Ethan Piper's a really good backup. But I think Trent Hickson, this is his time. Returning to the starting lineup after 4 years he started 3 years ago, and now he's back.
Yep, I'm with you, Tyler. I've got Trent Hickson as well starting. Anybody else have anybody different?
I have Trent Hickson.
Trent.
That was
Hickson.
that was one of
that was the
easier
easiest
ones.
one.
For me, it was Prohaska.
Because we don't have a lot of
but,
options, guys. There's not a lot of options at center.
I've heard Noelle was taking a few snaps here early in spring, so who knows? And I've also heard Ethan Piper's name come up in that discussion as well. But anybody, Derrick, would you say Hickson as well, or did you have somebody different?
Honestly, I'll go with Ethan Piper here. I think Ethan Piper beats him out. It's mostly coming down to athleticism. They like to have an athletic center, and I think Ethan Piper's a more athletic guy.
Sure.
I was never truly impressed with Hickson on the line, and I do think Ethan Piper could be a step up from him. It's going to be a matter of the only thing that's going to come down to is snaps. Can Ethan Piper snap the ball? Because I know Trent Hickson can snap the ball well.
Sure. Well, crap. Now that I've actually got that updated to reflect the proper people who picked the proper person, now I'm going to make it go away again. So
it's almost unanimous, and Derrick's
almost unanimous.
There's got to be some little debates here, right? We can't all agree on everything.
Well, I don't care so much about the debate as much as I like doing the banners, and it's way easier to just type the word panel instead of everybody's name. So get in line.
Well, I like making your job harder. Okay, Ken?
I noticed that, and that's fine. I don't mind at all.